Make sure you pay off the loan and take care of me, okay? I'm counting on you. The day I returned to the States after 2 years, I couldn't believe what I saw. A brand new and familiar house stood where our home used to be. Welcome back, dear. Isn't it lovely? A 2-family house. She laughed proudly. Surprise! We're all going to live here together from now on. He puffed out his chest, looking proud. Another decision made without consulting me. But I swallowed all the anger and frustration that threatened to burst out and calmly said, well, I'll be going back to my parents' house. My mother-in-law and husband's faces froze. Actually, I had already sent my luggage to my parents' place. This confirmed that my assumptions were correct. This was my answer. It was also my response to my husband, who didn't consult me 2 years ago about his overseas assignment either. This is the story of how I reclaimed my life. My name is Emily. When I first got married, I was living a reasonably happy life. I worked from home as a web designer. I could work at my own pace, and my income was stable, so I had no worries about the future. However, there was one thing that bothered me in my life with my husband. It was that he never consulted me when making decisions. For example, when he bought a new car or expensive appliances, he would decide on his own and only inform me afterward. It was the same when we bought the pre-owned house we were living in at the time. You're just at home anyway, so don't complain about things I bought with my money. His words, completely disregarding my work, always stung. It's true that my husband's income was higher, but I was also working hard every month. Despite my doubts about his attitude, we managed to get by. However, there's a limit to everything. My husband crossed that line. It was one spring day. My husband suddenly said, I'm being transferred to Singapore next month. I was so surprised that I couldn't speak. You'll come with me, right? You can work from anywhere. It was a unilateral announcement without any consultation. He hadn't considered my job or life plans at all. Nevertheless, I believed that we should live together overseas as a married couple. I could certainly do web design work remotely. Even now, I rarely went to the office. I also believed that my husband's overseas experience would be beneficial for us in the long run. I thought that if I could interact with overseas clients, it would expand my work opportunities. I forced myself to think that being exposed to different architecture and cultures would also be beneficial for my design studies. However, another problem arose while we were preparing for the move. My mother-in-law, Margaret, when we went to tell her about the move, Emily, if David is going to Singapore, I'll come visit sometimes, okay? Her casual tone made me feel uneasy. My father-in-law had passed away from an illness before I married my husband, and my husband, David, was their only child. I understand that she would be worried about his first overseas assignment and want to see him. However, I had asked her to let me know in advance when she was coming, but she never did. Even if she did contact us, it was only to my husband. I would never hear about it, and her sudden visits forced me to stop my work. If the fridge happened to be empty, she would become hysterical. Is this the kind of food my son has been eating? I'm sorry, I have a deadline coming up, so I've been relying on takeout and delivery. You're always home, Emily. The person who's home should be doing the housework. Margaret thought that remote work was just a hobby and wouldn't change her perception no matter how many times I explained it to her. We had these pointless arguments every time, and it's not like she offered any support. I can't seem to remember directions. I'm not confident I can get back from the supermarket near your house on my own. It had been 2 years since we bought the pre-owned house, and she visited at least once a month. There's no way she couldn't remember the location of the supermarket, which was less than a 10-minute walk away. She always made excuses and demanded support. We ended up paying for her meals during her visits and her taxi fares back home. As expected, my worries became a reality. Less than a month after we started living in Singapore, Margaret suddenly contacted us. I was told that English would be mostly understood in Singapore, but it's not. Emily, come pick me up. Her abrupt statement confused me. Where are you? At a hotel near the airport. Come pick me up by car. You're already in Singapore? I wasn't informed. Well, I'm already here, so it can't be helped. What? Are you telling me to go back? No, that's not what I meant. But I have a remote meeting right now, so the earliest I can come is in 2 hours. What? You're going to leave me alone in a foreign country for 2 hours? What's wrong with you? Which one should you prioritize? The meeting or me? I almost said that I should prioritize work, but stopped myself. Once she got hysterical, there was no stopping her. It was common for her to stop me from working for several hours. I reluctantly contacted my client and had the meeting time moved. It took 40 minutes to get to the designated hotel. Emily, you're late. You work from home, so you should have come immediately. You're not a business person like David. She probably thought of remote work as some kind of side hustle. No matter how many years passed, she never changed that perception. There was a person at the hotel who could help with things, right? They could show me around to shops and such. Do you mean the concierge? Ah, that. The hotel I booked didn't have one. Thanks to that, no one understood English and it was a disaster, so I canceled my reservation. Oh, so where are you staying then? At David's place, of course. Hotel with concierges are so expensive. Well, if you're going to pay for it, I guess I have no choice but to go there. Our apartment was a 3-bedroom provided by the company, which was spacious enough, but it was honestly tough to accommodate a long-term guest on such short notice. Still, when I talked to my husband, it's Mom's first time here. Of course she's anxious. Welcome her. And don't call me at work over something like this. He hung up again with a one-sided remark. Moreover, we had to pay for Margaret's airfare and living expenses. Due to the high cost of living, I had to use my salary as well. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to make ends meet. She seemed to have gotten a taste for this, and after that, Margaret started staying for about 2 weeks every 3 months. Each time I had to prepare meals, do laundry, and even give her tours in between my work deadlines. Emily, you work from home, so you can take care of me, right? And you're living overseas, which is such a luxury, so you shouldn't complain. She repeatedly made remarks that belittled my work. My husband always took his mother's side. Mom is looking forward to it, so be more welcoming. Take her out to eat sometimes. He never acknowledged my efforts. Meanwhile, I made sure to save for the future. Every month I transferred more than half of my salary to a joint account with my husband, continuing to save. I was working hard to save as much as possible for when we had children. We don't need kids yet. Let's enjoy our time together more. Besides, I'm busy with this overseas assignment, so it's too early for that. I followed his lead, but I still dreamed of having a family someday. However, I didn't know at the time that his words, our time together, had a completely different meaning. About a year after we started living in Singapore, I had a saving grace. I met a fellow American woman named Sarah who lived in the same apartment complex. I'm running my own business now, but I initially came here because of my husband's job. It's really tough when you're not used to it, isn't it? We met at a weekend yoga class. We shared similar values and quickly became close. Tea time with Sarah became an important respite for me. I was mentally and financially exhausted from Margaret's repeated visits, and Sarah gave me level-headed advice. Emily, your mother-in-law is a bit out of line, isn't she? Long-term stays without prior notice are especially a nuisance overseas. Her words were somewhat of a relief. Until then, I had just been enduring everything, and I even started to think that maybe my sense of things was wrong. And she belittles your work too much. Just because you're at home doesn't mean you have time whenever. I realized how reassuring it was to have someone understand me. After meeting Sarah, my life gradually started to change. I became able to properly refuse Margaret's unreasonable demands. I'm coming to stay from tomorrow. I'm sorry, but I have a tight deadline this week, so I won't be able to take care of you. What? That doesn't sound like the usual Emily. You're acting like this because someone told you something, right? That Sarah woman. I heard she's been bad-mouthing David too, and going to weekend yoga is such a luxury. It seems like she's having a bad influence on you, so you should quit immediately. She spoke as if Sarah had brainwashed me. Sarah has nothing to do with this. It's because of my work schedule. Work. It's just like a hobby. Get a grip. When I told my husband about this conversation, he predictably said, "Don't say things that hurt Mom. You've been acting strange lately." I let out a deep sigh at his words. So do you also think my job is just a hobby? I didn't say that. You always twist my words. I'm tired from dealing with unfamiliar language every day, so don't bring up trivial matters. Trivial matters? I'm also tired from living in an unfamiliar environment. The work culture and lifestyle were vastly different, which took a toll on me, and this wasn't a choice I made. I did decide to go with him, but I still had some misgivings about his pushy attitude. One day I received another call from Margaret. I'm thinking of staying for about a month this time. The cost of living in Singapore is high, so hotels are out of the question. A month is a bit much. What? Do you not want me there? Did David say that to you? No. I thought that if I brought this up with my husband, he would take my side this time instead of Margaret's. That's because the last time she came, he had grumbled. Having Mom here all the time is kind of suffocating. In the States, our bedrooms were on separate floors, but in Singapore, the layout of the apartment we were renting meant our bedrooms were adjacent. Margaret would sometimes barge in without knocking. The master bedroom didn't have a lock, so she could just open the door. Come on, Mom's getting old, so let her relax. I'm going to be on a business trip anyway. So who's going to take care of your mother while you're not home? You, obviously. Emily, you're so lucky you can work from home all the time. I wish I had such an easy job. Or what? Do you want to go back to your parents' place? His tone was almost threatening, and I had no choice but to stay silent. In the end, I had to accept Margaret's long stay. Then she said, since I'll be there for a whole month, I want to invite my friends over too. 2 or 3 people should be fine, right? I've always wanted to have a party. You can do the shopping and preparations. I was speechless at this unexpected turn of events. Wait a minute, what about my work? It's fine. They're all considerate people, so they won't be noisy. And they'll help with the party preparations. It was obvious that far from helping, they would leave everything from sightseeing tours to meal preparations to me. That's not what I meant. I already talked to David about it. My husband had accepted all of his mother's demands. There was no room for my opinion. On the day of the party that Margaret mentioned, as expected, I ended up doing all the shopping and cooking. Fortunately, her friends wanted to stay at a hotel together, so at least I was spared from having them stay over. But I ended up having to take care of them for almost an entire day. Margaret did nothing but brag as if it were her own house. Emily's always home, so she's good at this kind of thing. Oh, that's right. Let me show you the blueprints of our house in the States. My hand froze at that moment. Blueprints? House in the States? Oh, this was supposed to be a secret. Erin, please pretend you didn't hear that. She hastily changed the subject. But I definitely heard it. Her panicked reaction made me realize that this was something that involved me too. Something was being decided without any consultation again. According to the prior discussion, they were supposed to leave after lunch, but it was past 3 p.m. when Margaret's friends finally left. The time I had arranged to meet with Sarah was approaching, but I couldn't finish cleaning up after the party. I had no choice but to contact her and cancel. Emily, are you okay? Your voice sounds tired. I'm sorry, today was because of Margaret. Oh, she's here again? Hey, I have something to talk to you about. Can you make time tomorrow? The next day we met at the cafe where Sarah and I often met. My husband was away on a business trip and Margaret had gone shopping with her friends, so I could finally relax and talk. Emily, I know about your husband. Huh? I was going to tell you yesterday, but I couldn't say it over the phone. Sarah's expression clouded over. He's often seen at a fancy restaurant with a young woman. I've seen him there a few times myself. Her words made my chest tighten. Are you managing the finances properly? A lot of people get caught up in the nightlife here in Singapore. I couldn't help but lower my eyes at her words. It was true that my husband had been acting strange lately. He had been going out more often on weekends, saying it was for work and coming home late. He has started to always put a password on his phone and taking showers multiple times a day. You should gather evidence now. If it comes to a divorce, you'll need something to protect you. Divorce? Emily, you need to face reality. Do you really think the money you're saving each month is still there? Her words made me freeze. The account was in my husband's name. I only deposited money into it and couldn't check the balance. I know someone who went through something similar. Her husband's affair and debts were discovered and her world turned upside down. The reality I had been ignoring until now came crashing down on me. You should take action before it's too late. I know a lawyer who's familiar with this kind of issues. Seeing my expression, Sarah gently took my hand. Start recording your husband's actions from today. Take photos of receipts and any suspicious documents you find. From that day on, I started recording my husband's actions as Sarah advised. I took photos and receipts and invoices in between my work. I also looked through his schedule and any notes he left behind. At first, I couldn't find any solid evidence. However, my husband was coming home later and later. I have another drinking party today. Networking is important, you know. David is working so hard. Maybe he's close to a promotion. Margaret was completely oblivious to her son's lies and even seemed proud. One day a receipt fell out of my husband's jacket pocket. It was a bill from a fancy hotel restaurant for over $2,000. I couldn't believe my eyes. We hadn't been to such a place even once since we came to Singapore. A month passed since I started keeping records, and my husband's behavior became even more strange. He started going out more often, saying it was for work, and his phone kept ringing even when he was working. I continued to meet with Sarah at the cafe whenever I could. I have gathered more evidence, but nothing definitive yet. Don't rush it. He can't hide everything perfectly. We'll find something. More importantly, have you been able to check the account? I shook my head. The bank account and my husband's name were all managed by him. If I asked him to show it to me directly, he would obviously refuse. I had to be careful here. As my suspicions grew, I received another call from Margaret. I'm coming again soon, this time for about a month and a half. Again? What's with that attitude? You told me not to come unannounced, so I'm giving you a heads up. David said it was okay. Hearing about Margaret's planned long stay, I made a decision. After consulting with Sarah, I decided to use Margaret's long stay to my advantage. My husband would surely leave all the caregiving to me. I thought that he would be less cautious while I was busy taking care of his mother, so I could investigate his actions more thoroughly during that time. If she's staying for a month and a half, we'll definitely find something. I'll help too. A few days after Margaret arrived, my husband let his guard down and left his phone in the living room. The screen was unlocked, even though he usually had a password on it. My hands were shaking, but this could be my chance. On the social media screen, there were frequent messages exchanged with an unfamiliar woman. There were even photos of her in compromising poses. He had similar exchanges with multiple women. I took photos of everything as evidence. And then I finally found definitive proof. An email from the bank. It showed a history of regular withdrawals from our joint account. Over $10,000 was being withdrawn regularly each month, far exceeding my salary. Just as I finished taking photos, I heard the sound of the front door unlocking. My husband had come back to get his phone. I quickly put the phone back where it was. Oh, where's my phone? Well, I don't know, I haven't seen it. I acted normally so as not to arouse suspicion. But inside I was trembling with anger. This was the truth behind his work outings. And he was even using the money I had saved so diligently for our future. That night, I called Sarah. I found the evidence. Through Sarah's introduction, I was able to get in touch with Mr. Miller, a lawyer with a proven track record in the States. When I sent him the photos I took, he replied that it was sufficient evidence, but recommended observing the situation a little longer. To avoid being questioned by my husband, I saved all the evidence on Sarah's computer. I also had to think about what to do after returning to the States. It's good that you're thinking ahead. It'll be fine. Let's stay in touch. It might be a good idea to spend your belongings to your parents' house in advance. I've been thinking the same thing. I started packing little by little without David or Margaret noticing. I packed things I needed for work and precious keepsakes into boxes and shipped them to my parents' house. David continued to come home late. Even when he did come home, he would just shower and go to bed. He didn't notice anything unusual about me. Margaret's month-and-a-half-long stay finally ended and I could breathe a sigh of relief. Then David made an unexpected announcement. We're going back to the States next month. It was a sudden order to return home. He said it was a company decision. He also called his mother to tell her. Mom, we're going back to the States. Oh, I was getting used to it there and I was thinking of coming again. Maybe some other time, Mom. That's too bad. But if we go back to the States, I can see you every day. I'm looking forward to the new house. Margaret's voice was loud, so I could hear her clearly. When I turned around at her words, David coughed awkwardly. Oops, I did it again. This was supposed to be a secret. My bad feeling was spot on. But this was within my expectations. It was a good thing I had sent my belongings to my parents' house in advance. I reported this to Sarah as well. It's a good thing you prepared for it. Everything will be all right. We'll keep in touch, okay? I nodded deeply at the words of my friend who has supported me all this time. I didn't have to endure it anymore. Now that I had all the evidence, my choice was clear. David had no idea that I had already decided not to return to that house. As the day of our return to the States approached, David became increasingly restless. He kept checking his phone, seemingly unable to relax. You have a lot less stuff. Yeah, I sent the things I don't need for work ahead. David looked puzzled, but didn't say anything else. He probably had no idea that I knew everything. The day before our departure, Sarah came to say goodbye for the last time. I've already contacted Mr. Miller. Be careful on your way back. Thank you. Meeting you in Singapore was the only good thing that happened. I'll definitely contact you again. After a long flight, we arrived in the States. Before getting into a taxi, David said meaningfully, We're going straight to the new house. No detours. New house? But don't be so difficult. Just shut up and come with me. I smiled wryly to myself at his attitude. It was probably about the blueprints his mother had mentioned. But I wasn't afraid of anything anymore as I had prepared in advance. The taxi drove through a familiar residential area I hadn't seen in a long time. Then I saw a familiar figure. Make sure you pay off the loan and take care of me, okay? I'm counting on you. The moment we got out of the taxi, Margaret said that with a big smile on her face. I had prepared myself for this, but on the day I returned to the States after 2 years, I couldn't believe my eyes or ears. A fairly large, unfamiliar new house stood where our house used to be. Welcome back! Isn't it lovely? A two-family house. Margaret laughed proudly. Surprise! We're all going to live here together from now on. David puffed out his chest, looking proud. Another decision, made without consulting me. But I swallowed all the anger and frustration that threatened to burst out and calmly said, Well, I'll be going back to my parents' house. What are you saying? That's a joke, right? Right back at you. I took out my smartphone and showed them the screen. What's this? It was the social media exchanges between David and his mistresses, receipts for expensive meals, and suspicious withdrawal records from our joint savings account. You went through my things without permission? He had been living it up in Singapore, even using our joint savings. David, what's going on here? Margaret, you made me take care of you every time you came to Singapore without warning. You called my job a hobby and looked down on me. In the end, you only saw me as a convenient tool, didn't you? That's not true. I always thought of Emily as family. Family? Let me ask you one thing. You knew about David's cheating, didn't you? Margaret's face stiffened. I knew you knew, but you stayed silent. You turned a blind eye as my money disappeared. Mom has nothing to do with this. This is between us as a couple. No, it's not. Because you were planning to make me pay for the loan and your mother's care in this new 2-family house, weren't you? This isn't just a problem between a husband and wife. I will be contacting you through my lawyer regarding future matters. I purposely used formal language. Although I hadn't filled out the divorce papers yet, in my mind, we were already strangers. David's face turned pale at my harsh words. I have all the evidence of your infidelity and misuse of funds. Even if this goes to court, I will definitely win. Don't be stupid. No matter how much evidence you have, this house is already built. Yes, it is. During your business trips, while we were in Singapore, you actually came back to the States multiple times to deal with the house, didn't you? David gasped. I've also seen your personal bank records. Besides your salary from the local company, there were multiple large deposits from an unknown source. Those were the business trip expenses you claimed, weren't they? Emily, did you use company money to pay for your dates with your mistresses and the down payment for this house in addition to our savings? Wait a minute, David. You did that? That's not... Your mother's pension wasn't enough to get a loan, was it? That's why you misused company funds. You told my company? Yes. I've already reported your infidelity during work hours and misuse of company funds. But you said the down payment came from David's savings, Margaret said, stunned, and David turned pale. Wait, I'll apologize to the company. I'll pay the money back. I just borrowed it. Do you have any way to pay it back? There's hardly any money left in our savings account. And it's too late. The investigation was completed yesterday. Your punishment should have already been decided. Weren't you surprised when you were suddenly ordered to return to the States? No. David, why would you do this? At that moment, David's phone rang. The caller ID showed the name of his company. David's face turned even paler. The call was to inform him of his immediate dismissal. What? It was a notice of termination due to the discovery of embezzlement and fraud. I've also been called in. Shall we go together? You'll go with me? Then vouch for me. No, I won't vouch for you. I'm going to explain that I'm a victim, just like the company, and cooperate with the investigation. Investigation? Does that mean the police? Whether the company files a criminal complaint will depend on the discussions from now on. David's knees buckled. But please, tell them to make it an internal matter. I don't have that kind of authority. And why should I help you? After all you've done, including building this huge house? If I get fired, how will we pay the loan on this place? David, how much did you borrow? 600,000. What? You pretended to go on business trips, to come back to the States and used company money as expenses, right? It was all for the down payment on this house, wasn't it? David started sobbing. The company's accounting department has already investigated everything. I heard it amounts to several $100,000. David, you went that far? Why couldn't you have gotten a smaller house? Because you said you wanted a 2-family house. Don't blame this on me. I did say I wanted a 2-family house, but I didn't mean a house this big. David's been fired. What are we going to do? We can't possibly pay back this loan. Maybe you should just sell it. But it's brand new. If you sell it quickly, you might be able to minimize your losses. It's better than having foreclosed on, because you can't pay the loan. If you find a new job, you might be able to manage. Good luck. Although I don't know if any company will hire someone who's been found guilty of embezzlement and fraud. Oh, and regarding the misuse of our joint savings, the alimony, and the division of assets, my lawyer will contact you later. There's no way I can pay that. You'll have to pay back what you used. Alimony and division of assets are my legal rights. You disregarded my opinions all this time, so you can at least listen to me now. David, how could this happen? At this point, Margaret still didn't seem to understand the gravity of the situation. It was clear that her supposedly secure retirement would now be filled with hardship. It was a just punishment for her, so long living as she pleased. Let's go to the company now. I'll call a taxi. Wait, please, let's talk a little more. It's over. Margaret fell silent at those words. As I was arranging a taxi on my smartphone, David shouted, Emily, this will ruin my life. I turned around and said my final words to him. You ruined it yourself. 5 minutes later, in the taxi on the way to the company, I felt nothing as I looked at David's dejected face in the back seat. Are you really going back to your parents? Is that so hard to believe? Or do you think I still have feelings for you? But Mom, she knew everything. She treated me like a free maid in an ATM. The taxi approached the company and David's phone rang again. It was his mother. Shut up. He ignored the call. I couldn't help but let out a small laugh at his attitude. Now even your precious mother is a burden to you, isn't she? But from now on, you'll have to take care of her yourself. When we arrived at the company, a man with a serious expression, wearing a name tag that read Head of Human Resources, was standing at the entrance. We were led to a conference room on the 6th floor. This was the last time we would spend together as a couple. 6 months later, just as I was planning to live a quiet life back home, I received a call from Sarah. Is it true that your ex-husband is working on a fishing boat? What? He has to pay back the company plus alimony, so it seems he chose a job that pays well. My ex-husband was eventually dismissed from the company. Although a settlement was reached, he would be saddled with the repayment of the resettlement money, alimony to me, and the remaining loan balance, totaling tens of thousands for the rest of his life. He sold the house and is now living with his mother in an old apartment. The dream of a two-family house vanished, and the mother and son ended up sharing the burden of debt. It was a truly ironic outcome. I heard that his mother, angry and disappointed with her son, berates him every day, and they are constantly arguing. I also heard that she still blames me for ruining her son's life. He probably chose to work on a deep-sea fishing boat because he needs to earn more than usual and to escape his mother's constant nagging. Since he can speak English and Spanish, he's probably valued among the multinational crew. It must be a very tough job, though. There was a hint of a smile in Sarah's voice as she spoke. I had a hard time because my ex-mother-in-law kept asking me to reduce the alimony. It was a good thing Mr. Miller helped me with the restraining order. His advice really saved me. He's good at what he does. I really appreciate it. If anything happens again, let me complain to you. When I said that jokingly, Sarah's face turned a bit serious. Speaking of which, Emily, why don't you come back to Singapore? Huh? We're starting a web design department at my company, and we need someone talented like you. Wouldn't it be great to be involved in launching a new department? I was surprised by the sudden proposal. Your local clients really valued your work too. I'll guarantee you more than double your salary in the States. It was true that my skills had grown significantly during those 2 years in Singapore. Although I initially moved there because of my ex-husband's job, my superiors eventually entrusted me with negotiations with local clients. Our relationships were good, and even after returning to the States, I still received occasional work requests. My Chinese had also improved considerably. How about it? You can come back to Singapore this time on your own terms. I'm sure you'll be fine. I'll be here for you and I can help you find a place to live. Her words made my heart flutter. I had just been going along with David's decisions, but I had recently decided to make my own choices from now on. I never imagined that such an exciting opportunity would present itself in my life. I decided to use the skills and connections I gained in Singapore to aim even higher. And this time I would live a life free from anyone's control. A life of my own choosing. Sarah, thank you so much. You were there for me the whole time. I could hear Sarah smiling softly on the other end of the phone. I naturally smiled too. The simple fact that I could choose my own path instead of relying on or following someone else made me incredibly happy. Until now, I had been a supporting character in someone else's life, but from now on, I could live as the protagonist of my own. It was sure to be an exciting adventure. This is the path I've chosen. It's the dawn of a new life, truly my own.